Welcome to the Biz Show, sponsored by Investquire. And now, your host, Barry and Lisa.
Hi, Lisa. How are
Good,
you today?
good morning, Barry. How are you?
I'm okay. A little sore. Got a little bit of a neck pain,
Oh,
but we'll power through it. Hey, so this one,
yes.
episode 15, we made it to episode 15. Uh,
Yeah, the time's flying by. We got some great information today.
yes, common challenges that sellers face and how to overcome them, right? So we're going to talk about the challenges, and then we'll talk about some a solution or so to help them kind of get through that. But yeah, we are dive.
There are always some unexpected surprises that come up along the way, but we want to help you circumvent them or maybe prevent them.
Yeah, exactly. There's definitely roadblocks that will be encountered in life and in selling your business, right?
Always, yes. So we got to have a strategic mindset.
We do. So let's jump into to challenge number one, right? And that's probably the biggest one of all, and that is determining the sell price.
That's the most
You
important
know,
part of the process.
right? So how do we do that?
Well, you don't want to overinflate the business, so it's very critical to review the financials.
Yeah. So we talked about our last episode, right? The due diligence, reviewing the financials, reviewing the market, reviewing the operations, just going through and making sure that we're taking a look at all the performance indicators of that business and what it entails. And definitely, you want to hire a professional, right? Somebody who knows how to uh, appraise a business.
Right. And also, part of that process is being strategic with your price tag because you don't want to be putting it on the market at a really high value and not have a good buyer pool of interest. So, strategy does come into play when you're pricing the property, as well as critiquing the financials like the P&L and L and the balance sheet to make sure that you're doing your recasting and your adjustments of the write offs that businesses do commonly take.
So let me ask a question just to clarify. I know typically when residential homes are sold, you pick a strategic price. You might go lower to entice more buyers. Is the same true on the business side?
Absolutely. Everyone's looking for a deal, and that actually could be beneficial to the seller because then you can create multiple buyers being interested and therefore possibly driving the price up as we see in residential real estate all the time.
Okay, very good. It's funny because I've seen many, many times, and I know you have too, right? That the seller thinks their business is worth, $1 million or 2 million or 3 million.
Of course.
We come in and look at their financials. We look at everything. We're like, this business is worth $500,000. Unfortunately, again, we've said it many times, but your blood, sweat, and tears that you put into the 20 years that you ran this business don't count for anything. It's
Yes. And
it's
yeah,
the bottom line is going to be the financials, what the competitors in the markets look like, and what your operation looks like, and that's how it's judged.
right. And we've also, decided not to work with sellers, or sellers have decided not to sell because they are not being realistic about the price. And perhaps we have tested the market with their pricing and it just doesn't work because there's nobody that is really interested in buying it because the numbers on their spreadsheets may not prove that that is the true value of their company. So, that's not the situation we want to get into with people because we want the transaction to be a success, but that happens. Sellers are sometimes unrealistic, and we can give them a fair try at the market, but the market really dictates and speaks for itself. If there's interest, then that means we have it priced right.
Exactly. And that really leads right into challenge number two, the emotional attachment, right? And we just hit upon it, right? It's you put 20 years into building this business, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, figuring all the processes out and stuff like that. But if your financials don't support it, if your operation doesn't support it, if your marketing and competitors don't support it, no one's going to buy it. You
Yeah,
know,
exactly. It's
as we go to sell a business, right, we gather all this information, put it up in a nice little package. And then when we give that to buyers, they're going to scrutinize that and they're going to ask questions. And, we need those answers. And, the sellers need to provide and be available to provide those answers.
yes.
And, we focus on the opportunities that are available. There, in some businesses, I know that we just did this for one. There's a lot of potential in that business. With a new owner taking over, they can actually do a lot of good things with that business.
Right. And that hopefully would excite the seller on an emotional level, knowing that they're going to hand it off to somebody that's going to make it just be very successful, as they wish that they could have done themselves. But maybe there was time, lacking of time in their life to be able to support um, a very, profitable company. So we just want to focus on the actual goals that the seller has when they are deciding to step away from their company or selling their business, and have that be part of the excitement of the sale. So if they have a plan in place to move out of the state or operate a different type of company that they're going to endeavor into, then we want that to be the focus. So their goals are always, forward thinking, and they'll help us become, a team player in the transaction so we can get the job done.
Exactly. The other thing too, emotional wise, that we see is some sellers, whereas they want to sell the business, they're really not willing to give it up. And, so you got to take and look at this as a next step, the new chapter in your life, right?
Yes,
Uh, what's the next big thing that you're going to do? Maybe you're not. Maybe you're going to retire and travel the world. Maybe you're going to start a different business altogether, right? Maybe you had a construction company and now you want to go into a tech company or something. Who knows? Um, People have various hobbies and stuff like that. Sometimes they turn them into businesses, sometimes they don't. But that whole emotional piece, as a seller, you got to learn to take it out, disconnect it, because that could be slowing you down or weighing you down.
exactly. Yes, very important point there.
Yeah. Challenge number three. All right. What's challenge number three? The buyer pool limitations, right?
Yeah, we kind of touched on that a little bit.
We did. And again, pricing the business just right is going to bring a lot of potential buyers looking at the business. If you price a company that's way out to lunch, and too exuberant of a price, you're not going to get very many people looking at it. And when they do look at it, they're going to want you to lower the price.
Yeah, part of our analysis as a business broker is to take into account the competition as well, so that could be part of our strategy when we're doing our pricing and valuations of a business, and listing it for sale. We want to take a broad look at the competition as well as the financials, and as well as what price would be perfect to attract the largest buyer pool possible.
Exactly. And we have a large network, right? When we advertise to over 40 million people. And you, as a single buyer a seller, you're probably going to just advertise to the local market. You might throw it on a website and say, here it is, but that's only 15-20% of the actual work that needs to get done in order to sell your business, right? Um, so definitely you want to have a broker, a
Right.
business broker, who's going to navigate and bring their network to you to be able to get your business sold. And you know what? Brokers pay for themselves, right? Because they're going to get you better top dollar, and that's going to pay for the commission that's there.
Exactly.
All right. Well, our next challenge is maintaining business performance during the sale.
The seller is still able to operate their business, Barry, right? We want to make sure they're still able to operate the business and have the efficiency that they had,
Well,
before the
yeah, because
sale.
when you're selling your business, that's a full time job almost. So if you try to sell your business by yourself, guess what? You're not running your business anymore. You're now trying to sell your business, and that's consuming all of your time. That's where the value of a business broker comes in, right? They're going to evaluate the business. They're going to put it on a market. And then when buyers come along, they're going to vet those buyers and make sure they're viable buyers and can afford to buy your business and want to buy your business instead of just wasting everybody's time.
Yeah, and it may come into play where you have to call upon your CPA or bookkeeper to provide those financials to us so that we don't have to be nagging the business owner while they're in the middle of running a company. So definitely bring your team players up to the table so that we can contact them directly. And that will eliminate, any time out of your day in tending to the tasks that we're asking of you to help us prepare for the sale or accomplish a sale for you on your behalf.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, the next solution, or should I say, the next challenge is confidentiality, right? So, if you're a small business owner and you've got, your business, it's a sole proprietorship, maybe a partnership, you don't necessarily want all of your data out there for the world to see. Again, that's where brokers become the gatekeepers of this information and as well have vetted the people before they see it. We also put NDAs in place, right? An NDA, for those who don't know, is a non-disclosure agreement, so that basically we're ensuring that anybody that receives that information is going to keep it confidential. And if they don't, then you have legal steps you can take against them, right? You can cease desist, you can take them to court. There's all different avenues to circumvent people getting your information out there. And what's the scenario of that? Scenario is a sole proprietor that their home address, their home phone number, their personal bank accounts might be all attached to the business. So that's not something that you want viably
Right.
getting out there, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want to share that information with strangers, 99% of the time. So that's where the concern comes in as a seller. But that's the
Yeah.
purpose of this
So the
form.
NDA, right? You can get a cease desist letter. You can seek judgment and go to court against them, and you can sue them for damages, right? There might be damages involved, financial harm, or maybe, your accounts got hacked because, the information was out there.
Exactly. So we also want to mention that as a business broker, we do a level of scrutinizing the buyer's capability to purchase the business before we just have them sign a form and go take a look at all of your financials. So we do vet the buyer so that we can also provide an extra layer of protection above and beyond, what this form provides you. So, that's part of the
Yeah,
process. Just so that you guys know, as a seller, there's a lot that goes into it behind the scenes.
there's a lot. I mean, we probably talked to buyers 3 times before we send them an NDA. Just, make sure that they're viable.
Right.
And in some cases, depending on the sizes and stuff like that, we might ask for proof that they can purchase.
Yes. I mean, just like when you're doing open houses or whatnot, and there could be a neighbor that comes into your open house off the street because they're thinking about selling, they're being a nosy, looker of your property and how you present it, so that they can gain information and strategize to position theirs better. So that's where the thorough questions and vetting the buyers, comes in.
Well, the last thing that you want is your competitor down the street coming in, looking at your business and picking it apart, and then taking all that information back and then making his business stronger.
Exactly.
Which really kind of leads into the next challenge, right? And that challenge is due diligence, right? Managing the due diligence piece of it, which is where we come in, right? Again, we're taking a deep dive into the financials and the legal documents and the operational process. And those are important. And we've stressed how important they are time and time and time again.
Yes, we have. So if you've listened to our previous podcast, this is definitely an item that we bring up on almost every single podcast.
It is. And the reason we bring it up because it's a headache for us, because most of the time we are always asking for clarification for this document. You missed this. This P&L isn't matching up. Where's your lease on this? Where's your payroll on this? Right. So
Yeah, it's pretty much an endless and limitless area that develops along the way because one document could lead to a question from one buyer, whereas it may not a different buyer. So you just never know. And that's why every sale is so unique and different. So due diligence is very expansive and could extend into areas that you didn't expect. So we just ask you again to be a team player and be able to provide the information to us, timely, so we don't lose the interest of a buyer.
just remember the end goal here is to sell your business, right? For the most amount of money that you can, or the money that you want, right? And if you're not forthcoming with information, two things happen. Number one, the buyer is probably going to walk away. Number two, you don't look like you're very transparent and that you really want to give that information out. And if a buyer's got a question about that and he's willing to spend a couple $100,000, a couple $1 million, they're going to want answers before they actually sign the check.
Right. Very good point.
Yes. All right. So the next one is really on us as well. Negotiating hurdles, right? How do we do negotiate? And this is a very intricate dance, if you will, right? So there's a method to negotiation. We are trained in negotiation and working with, what the agreement of is, the price, the terms, and all the details, but it's an uphill battle, right?
Yeah, there could be counteroffers involved. There could be a point of negotiation after you after you both agree on a price. It could be in the middle of the transaction when they're doing their due diligence, and then something comes up for them that may cause a concern for them to back out of the transaction. So there could be some negotiation in the middle of an escrow. So that's where we
Yeah.
come in.
I said, isn't there always a negotiation in the middle of escrow? Seems to be.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully not. Hopefully you get your price that you want, and the buyer's happy with it too. And all of the documents reflect what makes the buyer feel comfortable. And it's really a streamlined process. That's our goal. That's what we want to achieve in every transaction. But yes, there are many transactions where there's definitely a negotiation in the middle, and perhaps some credit or some incentive on the price structure that can definitely come up, and that could definitely be a win-win situation. Maybe the seller's like, oh, I forgot to include this expense, or now I have an increase in accounts payable because of unexpected things. And so there's always going to be just expect surprises, I should say. Expect surprises that may come up on both sides.
Yes, there's always surprises. And you mentioned a win-win. And that's our goal, right? So you and I both really strive for the triple win, right? The buyer wins, the seller wins, and we win. And we want to make sure everybody gets what they want out of the deal. Now, let's face it, if you got a piece of pie and there's 8 slices of pie and you come to the table with 2 pieces of pie in your hand, and the other person comes with 2 pieces in their hand, then really, what are you talking about? You're talking about just 4 pieces of pie that you're trying to negotiate, right? And so sometimes
Right.
somebody comes to the table with 3 pieces and another person with 2, right? So that's a balancing gap, and that's how you negotiate and figure out what's what's the fair market value for this going through. The thing is knowledge is power. And the more knowledge we have, and the more knowledge that you as the seller have, the better off you're going to be, and the end goal of the negotiation process.
Yes. And my motto is, and what I've learned over the years, is that a successful negotiation is truly, a meeting of the minds and a meeting in the middle.
Yes,
That makes for a very healthy transaction.
it does. Um, so, and kind of you hit upon this on this topic, but going to the next challenge is unexpected issues, right? And there's always unexpected issues. I don't think there's ever been a deal that I haven't done in my 44 mergers and acquisitions that there hasn't been some unexpected issues, things that were unseen and uncovered, but then through the sale, they come to light.
Right. I mean, you could buy a brand new car off of a lot, and then 6 months down the road, it could have a wiring issue and your backup camera doesn't work anymore. And the backup camera's not working. And so you're like, wow, I just bought a brand new car and I can't use this feature and amenity that I've come to rely upon. And you're thinking, why did I pay all this money for this car? It's not working properly. So there could be things that come up and you just have to deal with them and flex with them and find a solution to overcome the obstacle or the hurdle. There's always a way to resolute a situation. So we ask our clients just to remain calm and just to be very, flexible and aware that things can happen that's out of your control. Every day is a new day.
You're right. And the key word that you said there was flexible.
Right? Just
Exactly.
like in life, Barry, right?
Exactly.
You may not feel flexible right now because you're having a neck issue, but we have to stretch. We have to stretch our patience, stretch our bodies, stretch our willingness, to keep moving forward.
And our pain tolerance as well.
And that's true in a business transaction as well.
Well, there is pain, and again, things pop up. Let me tell you a story. I love my stories, right? And
Yes.
I did have a acquisition that we were doing, and in the acquisition, we negotiated everything. We were all set to go and stuff like that. And probably 2 weeks into closing the deal, it came to light that there's an additional 20 employees that the seller forgot to put on the books. And when I say on the books, it was a remote location, and it was a different set of P&Ls.
Oh, I see.
So, because it was out of country.
Oh, wow.
So
that was like it's forgotten about, or they forgot about disclosing that, or oh wow.
well, they disclosed it, and we were in the assumption that we were buying the entire business, including the overseas property.
Oh,
However,
right.
when we were looking at the financials, we assumed that it was the financials and the payroll was in the P&Ls that we were looking at. Turns out they weren't.
Right.
So
interesting.
That could have nixed the deal. It didn't. Things changed.
Oh.
The price changed. But at the end of the day, I said it. It worked out.
You got to say it at least once, at least one time. But yeah, I mean, all of those unexpected things that we're talking about on this podcast came into play in that sale or that merger, because we just touched on all of those: negotiation in the middle, unexpected issues, being flexible and overcoming them, and
Right.
focusing on the goal, taking the emotion out of it and focusing on the goal on both sides. Are you wanting to sell the business so you can move forward with your next goal? And do you really want to buy this business because you see that it's a viable company? So just stick to the goal. I always tell my buyers that, they get hung up on a finding, on an inspection or something. And I'm like, what is the goal? Do you see your family living here? We can totally get this fixed. It's fixable. It just takes a phone call, and money usually. So, then that's where the negotiation comes in. We negotiate who pays for it, right? Who's paying for that problem?
Right. And whether a business is viable in your eyes or not, it to each their own. And I've had buyers who wanted to purchase a company that was flailing in the wind, had a lot of debt. They wanted to purchase the debt to offset their taxes, and they wanted to challenge to resurrect that business that was falling apart.
Oh, wow. So there's a buyer for every situation, huh?
There is. There's buyers for failing companies. Mostly corporations will buy other corporations, and basically they're looking to buy their book of debt. because that book of
Yeah,
debt offsets their taxes, right? They can claim debt
right,
on their taxes, and so that drops their taxes down, and they don't have to pay as much.
right.
Ask the very rich what they do.
They need to have these write-offs, right? They want looking for more debt. Meanwhile, the middle class are looking for less debt, and they're trying to get ahead, right?
Exactly.
So they're looking for really productive, profitable companies. So we would love to help a buyer find one so that you could add more income stream to your portfolio.
Yes. You know, the next challenge is really post sale concerns, right? Everything's been negotiated, everybody's agreeable on what's in the deal, what's not in the deal, what the price is, so on and so forth.
I don't like this part. This is scary. Sure, most of you are thinking post-sale concerns. That should nope, I don't want to. I don't want to buy a business that has a post-sale concern, right?
Well,
Red flag.
again, if the seller was transparent on everything, there really is no post sale concerns. But that's where we as Investquire can come in and kind of handhold you through that process, right? We have services that might fill the gap, a knowledge gap or skills gap or an employee gap that we
Transitionary services.
exactly.
We need to start calling our package that. I think that's a great way to describe how crucial that piece is. The transitionary package. Barry,
All right.
let's get on that one. The transitionary piece is so crucial, right?
Well,
It's making it seamless and less scary for the new buyer.
yeah, exactly. I mean, there's hand holding unless you've been in the
Hmm.
business yourself 20 years and you know the business inside and out. When you take a new business on, most of the time you're going to be somebody that's already in that business, so it's more of a acquisition. Maybe one restaurant is buying another restaurant, so they got that whole process already wrapped up. But if you're new to that industry, or if you're new to the business, we can really help you out there.
Right. Yep. And
And
there's a list of our services on our website, or you can just contact us directly if you need a customized package for your transition piece. And Barry would be happy to provide that for you. That's a whole conversation and meeting in and of itself, right?
it is.
But again, yeah, there might be post-sale concerns because the previous owner maybe ran it one way and you want to run it another way, but you may have to implement some new systems. So that's where we can help you.
Yes, we can. The last challenge is really just moving on, right? And for the seller, moving on is what's the next chapter in your life, right?
For the seller, right?
Right,
We're
right, right.
speaking about.
Yeah, for the seller, what's the next
Yeah.
chapter in your life?
Yeah, usually that's defined before they put the business up for sale, which is part of the motivation to sell. But if that's not the case, that's another consultation we could provide and see what else you may want to tap into, what goals or aspirations you have. And maybe your financial planner is a part of that piece too, right? Because now you
Yeah,
have a whole lump sum of money and you're like, what do I do with it?
well, you got to do something with it or you're going to end up paying capital gains, right? And we have some solutions for that too.
Right.
We have some partner companies that
Yes,
can
we do
help
have
you with
some.
that. Definitely. All right, well
Yeah, we have
that
some great people.
okay, well that kind of wraps up this episode of the Biz Show.
Hopefully, this was great information for you all today.
Anyway, don't forget you can reach out to us at investquire.com. You also can reach Lisa and I at our Facebook group page at the Biz Show.
Have a great day, everybody. Bye.
All right, everybody, have a good day. Goodbye.